go? Yeah, it's one of my mice. I have to get it replaced, I think, because nothing else has that much trouble with it. Hey guys, welcome to a live stream. I didn't make the thumbnail at the last minute, and that's why this wasn't listed at the last minute. But yeah, no, we'll see now that we're live. Everybody gets like a ping. We'll see how many people show up.
Is this a Patreon only or a whole channel?
It's channel wide. It's channel wide, baby.
Your sound is out again, Will.
Motherfucker. Okay, can you hear me now? It says it should be. Can you guys in the stream hear me?
I'm being entertaining. How are you guys doing? Can you guys hear Will? I don't think.
Yeah. Okay, they can hear me. It's you.
Me?
You guys aren't being helpful. We need to know which of us we can hear both. So yeah,
difficulties at the start of a stream. Please let me know. Oh, it's me. Okay, I'll leave and come back. Let me see what's going on here.
She could probably just change your headphones. I think that's probably the issue. I'm trying to wake up, guys. I'm kind of asleep. And what we're doing today will take some mental capacity. I'm trying to wake up. Nobody make fun of my hair because I just got up, and it gets really unruly and Hispanic. You also may hear my fan in the background. I make no apologies. I live life every day as a capitalist, as Charlie Kirk once said inanely. My hair's been just like, thank you. This is what I've always felt in my soul. Okay, can you hear me now?
Can, yes.
Okay, cool. We're back. Guys, am I still much louder than she is? Let us know. I often have to make, like in a game where you give yourself like a handicap. That's often how I feel in this podcast. So it won't be unusual for me to have to kind of restrain myself in some way so that my co-hosts, yeah,
let me know. Is it that I'm exceptionally quiet, or?
I mean, you're a little soft to me, but
I can try to move my mic a little bit closer. My setup is not extremely professional.
Slightly louder, but not much. Okay. That's probably fine then.
Cool.
So we will give a bit of a slow introduction and then give another introduction. So today, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be critiquing your writing, Father Sam style. And the reason is 60-40 volume split pretty close. Okay, that's not bad. By you, I mean people on our Discord and Patreon 2 days ago. I was like, hey, me and Val wanted to do this last minute. Are you guys down? Do you guys want to send some writing, like 2,000 words? And a bunch of them were like, yeah. So we got like 10.
Like 12 of them, which unfortunately I did not have time to read all, and we're not going to be able to go through all of them today. Oh no, god damn it, Will.
Hold on. It's the stupid. Again, my USBs for some reason are beginning to have trouble like staying in.
It's okay.
It's harder than you think, right? Why is this not reconnecting? Reconnect. God damn it.
All right, it's the Valerie show now, everyone. This is what we're here for.
God. Actually, me and Maria did a whole stream like this, so it's not the craziest. Like, why is it not detecting it?
As you guys can see, I have my fake plant here to cover up the mess in the corner.
You can't even see it now because you're off screen.
Thank goodness.
But yes, so what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be going over, they sent in, our patrons sent in about 2,000 words. We're going to be going over and looking at it. One of us may have done this beforehand, and one of us may be doing this at the moment, and that may be reflective of their anxieties. But we won't say which is which.
I read and prepared for this. Will
and I
did not do homework.
I said no, fuck it. We're doing it live because otherwise I'll just put it off for forever. Yeah. So the reason I should say, or one of the reasons I should say, is that we're thinking of doing this more regularly. Is looking at people's writing, but for money. I myself have been doing. I did it a while ago, and then I did it last month, and I'm going to continue to do it. I'm offering my critique services. So if someone would like to hire me, I'm about 4 cents a word. I think you can contact me. I will hold on. Let me write down my email so that can be in the bottom.
Thank you, hot cocoa with marshmallows. That's why they keep me on the channel.
You can email me here if you would like, and I yeah, I helped a couple people last. Okay, all right. I don't know. I think I did pretty good. Somebody last time said that they'd had a bunch of beta readers look over their project and never had anybody say the problems I had. And I thought the problems were pretty straightforward. So if you are interested in hiring me, again, about 4 cents a word, I think, you can email me at the link below. And me and Val, more generally, we're thinking of maybe doing this kind of a thing where you guys send in a short bit of writing and some money, to be clear, and then we would look over it like this.
Yeah.
Because I find sometimes it's not worth diving into a really deep review of someone's writing because it's like you can kind of tell all the problems really quickly. And like, even when I'm doing critiques, like a lot of times I'm like, well, this is the problem you're having, and I'm not going to note it every single time you have it, but you need to fix it because a lot of times problems kind of tend to be endemic that way. All right, you have any thoughts before you want to get started?
No, I'm ready to dive in. Let's go.
This person is lying. Look at that.
No, they're not.
Double Down Dan, I think, is going to be related to that, and none of you will understand that.
Kyle's playing tennis right now. He's
oh, okay. Oh, you're giving up looking at Kyle playing tennis for this? That's yeah, romance really is dead. I want to be
outside watching sports, please.
Kyle in tennis shorts, I think, was actually
that's true. That's true. That's a good point.
Okay, hold on. Let's go ahead and look at the submissions that already have your notes on them. This will be my first time looking through them. Or did you want to keep those in reserve? Are those Valerie only thoughts?
They're not necessarily. They're not like mean or anything, but they are mostly just for me, just so that like I was getting them out of my head. So
okay, yeah, we'll just do that, and I'll go through. And go through. Okay, thank you for telling me. And I'm already logged in, Google. Let's see.
Thank you. I got them on.
So the other thing I was going to say is that we will probably not get to all of the submissions today because there's like, again, 10 or 11, I think, as of like a couple hours ago. So me and Katie will probably do the others tomorrow during our normal critique stream for the Parasocial and Book Club members. So if you're part of those, you will get to see those there. Here we'll probably be doing them, I think, first by whichever ones Val left notes on first, and then we'll just randomly pick them.
Yeah, okay. I only got through, like, only actually read like 5-ish of them, and I only left notes on 3 of them. So
okay,
this is mine, William. You're showing them all my notes.
Yeah. Did you want to use the other one?
That's fine. It's fine.
Hold on, somebody mentioned me in the Discord. They were just saying true things about me. Okay, all right. So the way we usually do this is I just go through and think about the things as I'm reading them. God, my caffeine has not knocked in yet. Mereau arrived at Guston during the evening when fewer people were about. Mereau and Guston. Those are definitely French.
Right. Okay.
She checked the fit of her mask, embroidered with stylized chrysanthemums that marked her as a speaker for the dead. It covered the lower part of her face, leaving her eyes clear and visible. Her hooded gray traveling cloak covered most of her down to mid-calf, cut to avoid dragging in the dust. Okay. Let's start with my issues, then we can go to Val's. She checked the fit of her mask. That is abstract. I talk about this a lot, but this is not actually the worst example of it. But it is something where you're using an abstract instead of a concrete, so it's harder to visualize than it would be something more concrete. So, for example, she glanced at herself in the mirror and tugged her mask down so it fully covered her eyes. That's easier. Like, again, these are, anytime I give suggestions this whole stream, it's not because they're great writing. It's just an example of the issue I'm talking about. So check the fit of her mask. In that case, you could probably leave it and then explain how she did it specifically, but you could also just say what it is. Embroidered with stylized chrysanthemums. That's pretty good. Embroidered is a good word here. Stylized chrysanthemums. Stylized can maybe be used to change to something a little bit more evocative. Again, that's a little abstract, but the point is it's abstract. That's not that big a deal. That marked her as a speaker for the dead. It covered the lower part of her face. Covered is a little boring here. It's a little abstract. It could be like, I don't know, I'll leave it for now. Leaving her eyes clear and visible. Her hooded gray traveling cloak covered most of her down to mid-calf, cut to avoid dragging in the dust. Okay, so more broadly speaking, why is it so important what she's wearing? I'm not sure. This forms like a good image of her, but it's not really relevant. This would be better if it was tied into like how the guards look at her. That kind of a thing. Yeah. What were your thoughts?
And my initial thoughts were the first sentence, I think the end part of it is phrased a little awkwardly. When fewer people were about, I think could be phrased like about is just an awkward way to end a sentence specifically. And like you said, Will, on the side, I believe I mentioned, checked the fit of her mask. Like, again, like how did she check it? Was she just like adjusting it on her face? Was there a window or a mirror? Like somewhere it could help ground us in the scene better and give us a better sense of where.
What does it feel like on her skin? Does it smell kind of funky in the way masks tend to smell a little funky?
Yeah,
those are all things that can help bring you in.
It as a way to sort of show like maybe she's anxious, making sure it's covering all like the proper parts, you know, whatever. And yeah, the rest of it is just we don't particularly care what she's wearing right now. You can just say that she's like, you know, fully cloaked and wearing a mask. We don't need to linger on it too long. I think it's important to show like what the reader cares about and what we need to know for the scene at hand.
Yeah, this is one thing that I run into a lot is people having trouble with exposition. And basically, you only really want to exposit things that the reader needs to understand what's going on. It's actually okay and good to leave a little bit of mystery to build some tension for them to figure out like, oh, what's going on? So like here, actually, for example, saying marked her as a speaker for the dead. Okay, we don't actually need to know what that is right now. So it's good that the writer, and by the way, these are all anonymized. I don't even really remember because I copied them over without the names. So if this is you, by the way, we're going to try to be a little bit nicer than I normally am when I'm talking about writing.
But no, I agree. I think the speaker for the dead thing is good because it sort of introduces a certain mystery. Like, oh, what is a speaker for the dead? And it doesn't tell us yet. And it's a promise that we will figure that out eventually.
Right. I will say that overall, this is a fairly clean description, which is good. But again, it's just we don't really need to know about that. Like all this can just be moved to later. So the guard at the town gate nodded to her and quickly looked in another direction. The other few passersby assiduously ignored her. No, passers. Oh, you're right. Passers-by. Right. I don't like assiduously here. This is mostly because if it's a word most people have to look up, that just slows down the pace of the story. And in this case, assiduously is a little hard for people to picture. Again, actually, even more than that, it's abstract.
It kind of feels like this might not be the case. Maybe you use this word, but it kind of feels like someone had the thesaurus open next to them and we're like, what's another word for like you know, like a doggedly or something. Carefully,
I think is what probably. And also, again, like, what does this look like? Are they shying away a little bit? Are they turning their heads? Is a mother shooing her child by quickly? All a little cliche, but all very specific and easy to picture. Few people greeted her warmly, though she did things that needed doing, and she in turn preferred to avoid social situations when she could. Okay, so
I don't like the phrasing of that.
Yeah, I don't. Awkward phrasing. Maybe she was used to being treated with a certain coolness. It didn't bother her. She was there to do a job, not to ingratiate herself to the locals. That's good. I think more than anything, few people greeted her warmly, though she did the things that needed doing. I think that almost is okay on its own. And she in turn preferred to avoid social situations when she could. That feels weirdly tacked on. And it like
It's the kind of thing that could very easily be shown to us with her interactions with people, and we do get that later in the story. We get to see how she is interacting with other people, and it's very clear that she's not super comfortable in social situations. So you don't really need to tell us this.
yeah, and also it's something where yeah, it's just the phrasing is a little bit awkward. Trying to figure out if I can explain exactly why.
I think it's because
Yeah,
it's
just
few
kind of
people, something about few people, you could read it incorrectly at the beginning, and it sort of sets up an awkward rhythm for the rest of the sentence. And
I actually feel like
though she
without
did things that needed doing is kind of wordy. I feel like
yes, that's very hard to. It takes you a second to get through the labyrinth of that. Few people greeted her warmly, though yeah, like something
just,
a little that
there's no rhythm to it. It's just sort of like you have to stumble to get through it. And yeah,
like you said, the one you did was a little bit better. A little bit. She was between. It didn't bother her. She was here to do a job. Or like, you know, few people greeted her warmly, though she was needed. She was not loved. You know, something like that. Like something that was a little bit easier for them to grasp. Okay. She passed under the heavy stone arch, the remainder of a wall that once was. Her scuffling footsteps echoed in the short tunnel. What?
Yeah, see that this one confused me specifically, because an arch and a tunnel are two very different things. Your footsteps aren't going to echo under an arch.
Well, also, when did she get?
I think she's walking into town. I think that's what's happening right now.
Also, by the way, towns don't have guards in this time period, and I'm assuming this is medieval land, but whatever, not the important part.
You don't know.
Yeah, well, the thing about it here is there's a transition here that happens way too fast. In that, I am assuming she's walking through town streets, and then without any kind of transition, she immediately is at a tunnel. So it would be better if, like, you know, it was something where she moved up. Again, my prose are not great here. I'm just illustrating a point. She reached a heavy stone arch, the remainder of a wall that once was. A short tunnel led into it, and her scuffling footsteps echoed as she went in. Something like that gives us a firmer sense of, like, she was here and she was here, and she didn't just suddenly transport. Middle daughter has the hiccups loud enough I can hear through the noise canceling.
We'll just have hiccups too, guys.
I was gonna say we almost canceled the stream because I had hiccups, and I refuse to be on screen with hiccups. It's the thing I hate maybe most in the entire world are hiccups.
I also stubbed my toe really bad right before the stream, and I almost made you cancel. So
that also would have been pretty valid. Yeah, you guys don't understand how barely this happened. She stole a glance at the note she had at hand. The person wanted to meet in the morning at the fountain. They would be wearing a shawl embroidered with depictions of Rue. Her mentor's cramped handwriting included occasional symbols which meant something to her, but which he had never explained to Mira. Okay, all right, we got to slow down here.
I think the information is given to us here in the wrong order, because I assumed the note in her hand was from the client, the person she was meeting, but it seems like it's from her mentor. It's all just sort of like in the wrong order. And it's just rearrange the facts.
You're right. Bit. Yes, because you would assume that the note she read was by the person who wanted to meet, not her mentor.
I also think the person here is way too vague. Like
person is abstract. Abstract, guys. As is stole a glance at the note. Well, no, actually, that's okay. She had at hand was the thing that I think bothers me. Because she's just been palming it this whole time. What does it feel like to have a piece of paper in your hand as you're walking all over the place? It should be something more like, you know, again, what's the physicality of this moment like, and how can you share what that looks like to a reader? These are like go-to phrases, and because of that, it makes the writing feel cliched. The thing about it is I actually feel like it's okay to use cliche phrases sometimes if you're using it the same way you would use like a thesis in an argument, where this is the overall picture, and then I'm going to give you examples of it. So if you said like she stole a glance at the note she had cupped in her palm, she had at hand cupped in her palm, or something like that, then that's okay. That's like that.
Rachel in the chat. Sorry to interrupt. The person that she's meeting is not her mentor. They're two separate people. So yeah, there is some confusion on who is who in this little exchange.
But basically speaking, I think it's sometimes okay to use a cliche turn of phrase if you then pair it with another one. It kind of helps the reader figure out what they're it helps orient them. But in this case, these are just cliches. I will say so far, this is not the worst written thing I've read. It, more than anything, is just suffering from a certain amount of vagueness and illogic. This is a thing that just happens a lot, is people, they kind of forget what the story is supposed to look, that the story, what does it look like to the reader? You really have to come in thinking, what do they think and how are they experiencing the world? And it's like I think in the Savior's Champion or Savior's whatever, when I talked about theory of mind, which is that other people think things differently than you almost have to body double when you're writing, of like, okay, I'm moving them through and I'm keeping track of what information the reader has at what point. Okay. She wants me meet in the morning at the fountain. Also, is she now in a tunnel under a fountain? Well, you'll see in a moment. They would be wearing a shawl embroidered with depictions of Rue. It's, again, she would know them by the shawl.
It seems like an oddly specific detail. I'm not sure. It's
yeah.
fine,
And also, all this is very sort of it's not the worst, but there is some
flowers are kind of important into this culture because, you know, she's got the chrysanthemums on her mask and then the rue on the shawl. Maybe that's just an important note for this world. But yeah.
I think this is meant to be funny. Her mentor's cramped handwriting included occasional symbols which meant something to him, but which he had never explained to Meru. We need a little bit more of a punch here of what Meru thinks about this, either incorporated into how she's describing it, or incorporated into like her action, like she rolled her eyes.
Yeah,
Meru
like,
rolled her
that
eyes.
batty old man is always adding these not like that. That wouldn't match the tone of the story, but like something like that to give us a sense of how she feels about it. Like
again, it's our on the pros spot coming up with are not going to be great. They're here to illustrate a point, which is something like that, or included occasional symbols scratched into it with like the unnerving intensity of a 3-year-old, but which she had never explained to Meru, despite her, you know, whatever. Like it needs to be punched up a little bit for it to actually land as a joke.
So that this can help us care more about Meru as a character, because we're not getting a ton of her internal world right now.
Yeah, and even if it's only 3 paragraphs in, we don't know anything really about her. Besides, I'm kind of assuming she's hot. Are you and I together with this? I'm kind of assuming she's hot.
I think it's just because you want to assume everyone's hot. When people are hot is better.
Well, only women. But let me see what you had left as notes. Rearrange the order information so it's clear. Yeah, it's just confusing. Okay. And again, there's a little bit of this static language going on. It's not the worst. It's not like the object, verb, whatever. But this is all a little bit like it doesn't zing off the page. We'll talk more about it in a minute. She filled her water skin at the town fountain, which drew a few uncomfortable looks. It was mineralized and went down bitter and tasting of metal. Do medieval people know about minerals like that? Huh.
I'm also not really sure why the detail is important. I just rephrased the sentence because I thought it
just bitter and tasting. Yeah.
But I just also, there's a lot of little details in this piece specific that I'm like, why do we need to know this? And if you are going to give me this information, we want it from Meru's perspective to tell us something about her.
Yes, I mean that's the thing, and that's the other part of, you don't want things to be abstract, but at the same time you don't want to be offering more detail than is really needed. So like it went down bitter and tasting of metal is actually kind of fine because that helps you get into her sensory point of view. It's it was mineralized, which is weird.
Yeah, actually that's a good point.
And also, I just don't know why this would give people weird looks. I mean, maybe she'll explain it in a moment, but maybe there were a few taverns. Yeah, like doesn't everybody? There were a few taverns with guest rooms above, something that had sprung up because of the pilgrimages. Great guest houses. Meru picked one that was within sight of the oh, well, I copied these over. I just copy and pasted, so there may have been some italices that I missed or something like that. Just FYI. Meru picked one that was within sight of the fountain and adjacent to the town square. All of the buildings facing the square glowed in the dim evening, glowing windows adorning those which were entertaining visitors, the rest dark and solemn. All with exposed timber and plaster on floors above the first. The only all-stone building with the tower and the town hall. So, okay, so some strengths here. Exposed timber and plaster on floors above the first. Very good detail. Just snuck right in there. That helps us picture it. There's a nice kind of like finality to here. We understand that these are important buildings, the tower and the town hall. Good stuff. The rest of this, you did not explain why people are uncomfortable with her using a fountain for drinking. Weird. Something that sprung up because it's okay that you don't explain what the pilgrimages are right now. This gets us interested. But something about the phrasing here is kind of awkward. There were a few taverns. So I think
maybe something like after the pilgrimages, many of the taverns now had guest rooms above them, or something more along.
Yes, like something. And I think
you
also
could rearrange this to be smoother.
Also, where are these taverns? Because as far as we know, she went under a broken arch into a tunnel and a fountain, and now we're just talking about taverns.
It seems like she's in a town square and all the taverns are facing like the fountain.
It should be then something like around her loomed taverns, made tall by the quickly added guest rooms from the recent pilgrimages or something like that. You kind of want to take all of those ideas in one and gather them together. Meru picked one that was within sight of the fountain adjacent to the town square. The guest house or the tavern? And also,
I think it's
what
the
is
same
she picking
thing,
them?
Because the guest houses are above the tavern.
Okay, so they're not around the tavern. Meru picked one that was within sight of the fountain and adjacent to the town square. Yeah, the physicality here is really confusing. All the buildings facing the square glowed in the dim evening, glowing windows adorning all those which were entertaining suitors.
In the dim evening, so
glowered. Yeah. There's some kind of odd quality to the way this person writes that makes it kind of labyrinthian to understand.
There's sort of an arrhythmic thing to the sentences that kind of makes it seem like you're dancing around the thing and then you get to it by the end of the sentence almost. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly, exactly. So if like we were to rewrite this, all of the buildings facing all right, how about in the dim evening, all the buildings facing the square.
Oh my god, you mean typos. That's so embarrassing.
Oh, you shut up. Millennial typing.
What the fuck?
Glowered. Okay, so let's see. So, okay, but wait. So is it all of them or just the ones that were entertaining visitors?
And what is like to glower sort of, it feels like a little intimidating, right? Like they're glowering at her. Like why? It's kind of an
but what is the distinction between these? Because some are glowering and some are glowing. All right, so just for the purposes of showing the sentence structure, and the dim evening building, the buildings, all the buildings facing. Damn it, my fucking mouse.
You doing a good job?
Hold on, guys. No. Okay, join the Patreon. Hire me to do your editing. I need a new mouse. Capitalism sucks. All the buildings facing the square glowered. Glowered. Facing the square glowered. No, I'm all messed up.
I'm also just like a little bit confused about why the ones with glowing windows are entertaining visitors. Because hypothetically, does that mean the other ones are closed? Because even if they're not entertaining visitors, the taverns would probably still be open, right? So they should still have lights on.
Again, I have no idea what the distinction between these two types of houses is.
And honestly, we don't really need it. We can just say she picked like a tavern at random and hopped in. Like, obviously not that phrasing, but you know what I mean? Like, we don't need all of this information convoluting what's about to happen.
Okay, again, we're not going to judge by prose here, okay? But in the dim evening, the faces of the taverns glowered yellow with lamplight, telling the open air of their empty rooms. So, for some reason, I find that maybe I'm wrong, but this is an easier transition of ideas to follow. I think it's because I start with the environment. This is almost just like a fact you could hear in a book, you know, about taverns in this area. Again, there's this weird confusion.
A lot of the things that I've like found with this particular piece is that it's like, you know, in math, right? There's like an order of operations. It feels like these sentences are the wrong order of operations.
Yes, no, that is exactly what I kind of am feeling. And so like this is like you start with what does it look like to her, and then you kind of go on to the rest of its function. Okay. Did we okay. Also, you know that has your full last name on it, right?
Me? Oh, shit. Well, where is it? I don't see it on the screen.
It's when you go to the side.
Well, this is I told you not to use mine, but you did anyway. So
all right, I'll try and
nobody stop. I'm barely.
What are we at? We're at 30 minutes. I'll try not to do it again, and then I'll just cut him out of the final version of this.
It's fine. No one's stalking me on the internet.
They only do. I was gonna say they only do that to hot people, but that's actually not true. Right. The smell of rosemary and marjoram and warmth of tended fires pressed in on opening the door. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, because this is actually almost a really good description, and it's fucked up by the order of operations thing. Okay, so the smell of rosemary and marjoram and warmth of tended fires. First off, that doesn't really have a smell. I see what you're trying to do there, and it almost works, but it really doesn't have a smell.
The tended fires has a smell, but yeah, like.
Well, but what kind of tended?
It doesn't have to be tended. To just like a flickering fire, like, you know, like a
warmth. The smell of rosemary, marjoram, and the charcoal of recently tended fires, something like that. Maybe a little bit. Like you almost have this here. This could work in another place, and it's the correct cadence. But pressed in on opening the door. Okay, we have this thing again where like she just keeps, she keeps like apparating from place to place. If anybody is a Harry Potter aficionado, though I know we all pretend we don't nowadays. Pressed in on opening the door. Again, and pressed in on opening the door isn't terrible, but first off, she's the one pressing into the room. It should be escaping the room.
Yeah, I rephrased it.
Press in what?
How did I phrase it?
Yeah, you say it because I don't want to keep showing your full legal name.
My iPad, they're all out of order. I said greeted her as she pushed open the door. I thought was a little bit more clear. Something about I don't know if that's any better. That was my initial thought. Like the smell of rosemary and marjoram and the warmth of tended fires greeted her upon opening the door, as she opened the door, because if you add like as she opened the door, it is an action, you know, that's like happening, like she's doing both of them at the same time, like
instead of a thing that just is happening. As she pressed through the door, something again, it can't press because it's not going into the room, she's going into the room. It should be like either escaping or filling her nose. Hold on, because people have been talking in the comments and I didn't realize it. They were talking about, okay, honestly, did people have this stuff annoys me so much, especially when it's disguised criticism. Former reenactor and history mind to hear, most often the answer is yes. Not always. The Tiffany problem, yeah, like my editor more just asked it as a question because she generally didn't know, so I think taught her quite a few things when we had discussion afterwards. Or if it's a fantasy where, like, I don't know, the Romans had floor heating and shit, so why be an ours? Some items just feel more modern than others. I believe that's why people like saying those things. Okay, after all, but did they have this things? I'm getting a knee-jerk reaction. Anachronisms stick out heavily to people that are expecting historical accuracy. It all depends on the world and what you want to normalize and what you want to stand out. And then, yeah, I remember someone in the Akamov review defending the toys, but lack of guns because indoor plumbing did exist, but gunpowder being discovered was an accident. It would be fine, but a lot of times it isn't. It's the reader's assumptions. So I was talking about the feel more so than anything. Yeah, this is what I would say. Will, you have been wrong a few times. That doesn't sound like me. No, I would say a couple of things. I mean, I think first off, it's more about for most people, it's more about maintaining a feeling of accuracy than it is necessarily being accurate. So, for example, in the Akamath review of them having like functioning toilets. First of all, a functioning toilet in a medieval or Roman world is not going to just be like a porcelain throne in the way ours is. It is going to feel different. And so you need to bear in mind that most people are going to look, and it's also, again, it's also meeting the expectations of the readers where they are. So most people are going to be like, did they have toilets back then? And if they did, then you can expand that. You need to show them, though, what that toilet is like and that it doesn't just look like an American toilet. There are problems like the Tiffany problem. That is something where it's like, yeah, you just got to pick if you want that world to feel anachronistic or non-anachronistic. That's kind of just one of these things. Also, a lot of times these smaller things add up to bigger problems.
That's the thing. So, like,
we were discussing the minerals thing, and then I mentioned an editor of mine asking whether my characters would have tweezers as an example. Yes. But so even for example, the tweezers, for example, or if you were talking about like scissors, you could describe them as the shear scissors they had, not the kind we have with like that go like this. Man, my words are not good today. Will is never wrong. Fine, I know, but still, there's some nuance occasionally, and I hate dumbing things down. I mean, I think it's about meeting the reader's expectations where they are. I'll say more about that in a second when I let you talk.
Yeah. Oh God, what was I going to say? I don't like a little anachronism here and there doesn't bother me, but like Will was saying before, if it invites questions that make the rest of your world building crumble because of it, then it becomes a problem. Like if
what the fuck is the artillery doing in Fourth Wing? They don't have gunpowder. There's no such thing as artillery. Like there's no artillery before. Like you're describing. First of all, what is she talking about?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. There's no artillery before gunpowder. Do they have gunpowder? That's important to know.
The two most obvious questions someone might have if you include this in your like a fantasy world, and like just follow the thread of those questions and see where it leads you and what else should exist. And like, because people will notice it and it will take them out of the story if like, and you know, like I write what you want, especially if it's just a hobby. You can write, nothing has to make sense. You could just do this for fun. But if you're doing it for an audience, people are going to ask questions if it doesn't feel, what's the word, verisimilitude. If it doesn't have that verisimilitude, you have to believe it. Yeah.
And I will say that I think it's something where you yourself can get, as a creative experience, by trying to be accurate, you can reveal things about your setting that are interesting or not. So, like, I had
sorry, can I say one thing before I forget it?
What is with these women? White women. Go ahead.
Women are men are so
in Trump's America. Thanks, Obama. White women. No, I'm just gonna go
ahead. I forget who said it, but there was someone who said, you know, like, okay, so like there are alligators in the sewers. Why are there alligators in the sewers? And then you answer that question. And then you say, okay, but why? You ask why 2 times and you explain it twice. And no one's going to follow it beyond that like 2 question thing. Like, oh, this is why this happened. And oh, this is why this happened. And like that you have like a believable answer to this world question. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, no, it's true. And again, I think also it's about not necessarily talking about this piece, but it's about also setting up an expectation for your reader. You kind of like we're going to be reading Dungeon Crawler Carl. I don't expect that to be serious. Seriously accurate. It's about also the expectation of what you're setting up for the reader in the conversation. It says artillery would be a valid word for things like catapults, bangles, trebuchets. No, they wouldn't. First of all, they wouldn't have an entire division for siege engines that actually are not really how you win sieges a ton. Like, well, again, this is one of those things where I'm like, but it's not actually that important. Oh, it's me, Maria. Yeah, Will is too mean to Val. Wow, Val looks so gorgeous. These are all lies. Okay. But anyway, for the purposes of this story, this is, I think even when I said they probably wouldn't have this, I said like, well, that's not really important. It's not. It's fine for town guards to have 10 guards. You win sieges by starving them out, not flattening them. No, you win them by building big ass ramps. Brett Devaru
Don't get
has
Will
a
started
whole
about war
blog
stuff.
on
He's
this.
gonna go on forever.
That's a really good point. That's a good point.
Come on, Will. We got other. All
right, rookie mistake. Okay. Maru's boots scraped in the wooden grate just inside, catching what bits of road still clung to her. The patrons ignored her once they. The thing is, this is not terrible, but it doesn't quite follow. So, but would she?
We talk about her footsteps too much. I think this author sort of uses that as like a crutch to show her moving through space a little bit, and I think there are more elegant ways that you could,
Well, and also again, there's the weird, and it's not passivity. I'm gonna just call it staticness of like this. She was here, then she was here, then this, she was here. Like it's linking a bunch of, and this is an okay thing to do with characters' actions. You don't have to be like, and then she walked here every time. But there's a lack of that. She's not really. We don't hear her doing these things. Mira's boots is I think the only one that really comes through. Excuse me, I'm just reading things. Okay. Yeah. So there's a sense of like you're stating one fact and one fact and one fact, and we as readers can link those together. And again, that's a valid thing to do sometimes. But in this case, there's too much of it. You need to vary this up. This is like you also can't click on anything.
Sorry, my bad. I was.
Yeah, I know. You can go into your Google settings and change your name so that this doesn't happen.
It's fine.
I had to do this with all of them.
Again, I'm barely online.
Yeah. All right. What was I saying? Oh, yes, it is an okay thing to do, but like with sentence length where you want to vary it, you want to vary how often. Like she patted across the floor to the innkeeper. See? Patted. That's actually quite a good verb there. A matronly personage with an apron that bore the brunt of a lot of her work, the rest of her dress a dulled blue. What?
It's an awkward phrased.
It's almost good.
I feel like you just use a little too many words to get to the point, but like there are some good little phrases in a lot of these, like that we're saying are phrased awkwardly. There's a lot of good moments in them. It's just there's a lot of words and it feels like it's dancing around the truth before we get to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, there's the order of operations thing you said. A lot of these sentences are curiously backloaded. I think also the logic here doesn't. A matronly personage with an apron that bore the brunt of a lot of her work. That's fine, but then the rest of her dress being a dulled blue, the dulled makes it seem it should be a matronly personage with an apron that bore the brunt of a lot of her work. The rest of it a vivid blue. That would be a little bit better because we're contrasting. We get what she means by brunt of a lot of her work, but this also is abstract. It's funny, but it then needs to be paired with that bore the brunt of a lot of her work in the flowers scattered across it, or something like that.
And if they wanted to describe the dress as being sort of worn, they could say like like a clean but faded blue or something like that. Like just because. Vivid is kind of the opposite of dull. But
that's the thing is that it shouldn't be dulled. Dulled says that this thing has been through a lot of work.
Trying to say it's been through. I think they're trying to imply that it's old, but like unstable.
Okay, so it should be a personage with an apron that bore the brunt of a lot of her work, though unsuccessfully from the dulled blue of the rest of her dress. Like there needs to be a contrast in thoughts there that there isn't really.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I'm not so sure about pattern unless it's a soft through floor and soft soles. Yeah, I mean, but it's a strong verb, and that's all you really. That's really what I'm commenting on.
Me personally, but I think personage feels a little. I feel like you could just say woman. It feels kind of. I don't know.
Oh no, that is very odd. I didn't even pick up on that. A matronly personage. Yeah, that's a kind of a Britishy way of saying it. I feel like the sentence is cut off too soon, such that the amount of info is too small for the thing being narrated to feel satisfying. There's some of that, I think. I think it's there is a kind of
the
first
rhythm is off. I think that's what people are noticing. Like
this also should be its own paragraph. The innkeeper smiled. Welcome. There was hesitation, but she set it aside and extended her hand in greeting. Okay. I hate that. Okay. The innkeeper smiled. Welcome. There was hesitation. Abstract. This is all abstract. We are also not in her head, so it should be something like
Mara
her
could
voice
see
hitched.
yeah, like
Yeah, her voice hitched in hesitation, but she swallowed and seemed to set it aside as she extended her hand in greeting.
yeah,
Just a
that's
few,
better.
like, okay, now we kind of know what that looks like. And also, Maru can't read her brain. She can only pick this up from body language cues. Or even something like it had the stilted way that she had often heard people welcome her, where they had hesitation and set it aside, or something like that, where it's how does she know this information?
And again, like what people are saying in the chat, like the sentences are too wordy. There's just a lot of words that don't need to be there. Like that you could just these sentences could be like cut down, like a good quarter of them could be cut out without losing meaning and a little rephrasing.
So just some guy says her greeting, or nope, not the one. Tian says, then again, the wordy prose adds to the tone the writer is trying to create. So I don't think so. I actually don't think this is, I think personage, for example, is a distinct stylistic choice that they're making in terms of trying to make it sound Britishy. But I think a lot of the confusion that we're having with the prose is just comes from being unclear versus it being ambiguous. Like that's kind of a difference. And obviously people are going to be different about this, but I think me and Val are pretty normal readers in terms of you need to understand that this is the effect it's going to have on a normal reader. And if the author wants to keep it like this, I think it's bad, but yes, it is their choice. But make sure that this is an intentional choice and not one that you are just defaulting to because you didn't know that there was another option.
Yeah, because a lot of the time there is a stylistic choice that could be made here that could, you could be like, I'm doing this on purpose, fine. But it feels like to me as a reader that they are sort of finding the purpose of the sentence as they write it. And at the end, they're like, oh, this is the purpose. And then they end the sentence and they move on. Like they're just there's a sort of uncertainty about it that it reads that way. And there's a lot of writers who, write flowery sentences with a lot of words that, wouldn't read that way. There's a way to do it. It's just, it's not.
Yeah, and the other thing is the author isn't taking advantage of where you would think that. So like the thing about like her mentor writing a bunch of symbols, that's the part where you expect it to be a little bit verbose.
There's a rambling on Meru's part, like maybe she thinks through things a little too much, and the prose could reflect that. If she kind of thinks in circles, there's a way to write that in the prose as well.
Well, and again, I think there's a difference between unclear and ambiguous, or labyrinthian. Again, it's one of intentionality, and I very much get the sense that this is not the reader or writer's intention. Meru took her hand, smiled behind her mask. I could use a place to rest. Is there space in your stables? The innkeeper nodded. We also have a room. Seeing as you're clergy, we can offer a good rate. Not clergy, Meru corrected reflexively. Lady, just a profession that works with the clergy. Oh, I see. Can I say that? I can't say I know much about speakers. Haven't had call to need one myself thanks to the Watcher. She gestured as she did so, touching forehead, then heart. You must be hungry, looking like you've traveled far. Okay, the author is doing this thing where they're skipping, I don't know enough grammar to really understand what, but they're skipping, like, she gestured as she did, touching her forehead, then heart. It's getting shortened to forehead and then heart. Mara took her hand and smiled behind her basket. There's no and, it's just offset with a comma, which can work, but usually you want that to speak to something in the character's experience. So like if they're skipping through an interaction, that's when you would start skipping that, or if the world is losing coherence a little bit. Here, it just kind of feels like a little bit off. It's a little.
Be Meru took her hand, comma, smiling behind her mask. That would kind of fix the just to imply that they're happening at the same time.
Right.
And the dialogue is a little weak. I think it's very basic. And
it's so anybody could say this.
What I'm going to argue at the end of this particular piece is that we don't need to be here for, unfortunately, about 90% of this. I think I want to tell this writer, and this is, my propaganda, read one of the Witcher's short stories, because you have to start closer to the action. And the time that we're spending with Meru here doesn't ingratiate us to her at all. it doesn't really paint her as like a competent person, a likable person, or like any kind of proactive person at all. She kind of seems shy, anxious, and just sort of like sad. And it's hard to root for a character like that. And if you're going to do this, like, woman who's here to do a job, like she's here on like some kind of contract work that we don't fully understand, we need to start close to the action. We need to be shown maybe she's not competent, but we need to like her somehow, you know? Like,
we need to be given some stakes in terms of what is the humanity of this character that we are connecting to and caring about going forward. And so far, I haven't really got any. I'm mentally picturing her as hot, so I'm a little bit interested, but that's non-canonical. That's headcanon, so I don't even know. Yeah, this dialogue, anyone could say this. In general, the rule is you want to start a story as close to the middle as possible. Some of that is like cultural assumptions as well. If this is a story that's been told, you've ingested in media a lot, you can skip closer to the middle than even before, because it's just like, okay, we know what happens. You could even theoretically start a story in like the aftermath of the heroes winning against the evil villain, because that's a story that's so familiar to us that we would actually be able to grasp what the whole part of that became beforehand. Or like a Shakespeare play. Will's like boobs. Okay, I mean,
Will is fully imagining boobs.
I didn't. No, that's slander. I never said that. I said she's hot. There's other ways.
Will, when you find out what's up with this character, you're going to be like, uh-oh.
Oh, no. Let's see. The innkeeper smiled. Welcome. Okay, yes. You must be hungry. Looks like you've traveled far. Meru glanced down. Dusty boots, worn traveling clothes, her long gloves, and the gray cloak with its creeping film of dust. She was a sight, even for a speaker. You mentioned a room. So this is where we should have gotten that information about her clothes that we'd gotten all the way back up here. Because this is
up there, yeah.
Because, and also this is just a much more good excuse to describe it. Gray cloak with its creeping film of dust isn't bad. It would be better if it was creeping up from the bottom, though, from the hem, because that makes a little bit more sense. Worn traveling, yeah. You mentioned a room. I'll still offer the clergy rate, and you can get cleaned up for something to eat. So, okay, we are not enough in Meru's point of view that we can skip from her taking in this information to deciding that she does want a room. Certain characters you can do this for. Once we have the internality, we're internally mirroring how they think, and it would be okay. But here, we really don't know how she thinks that much, so we kind of need a sentence to go from... Because, like, this is actually not a small decision. Like, it may seem like it, but in terms of characterization, going from, I'm just going to stay in a cheap room to, like, oh, man, I do look like shit. I need to do some work. I need to do some work. I'm gonna treat myself a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, that actually is kind of a character decision. Why is she making that decision? Here, it's just kind of, you actually can also just miss it if you're not paying attention, because none of this dialogue is super, like, whatever.
Yeah, again, like, Meru is just really... it's so hard to care about a character who isn't proactive, and she seems to sort of just... even though she's just walking through town and having one interaction, I've gotten the sense that she's just sort of lets things happen to her in a way, and it's a little confused. Like, what is Meru about? Like, why is she an interesting character? I have no idea. It seems like she might be new at this job, because she doesn't really have like a good, like, she's not confident at all, like, in her interactions.
This is like a very common thing, I think, with writers, is that they have a plot and then they put the characters in, and it's like Rapids River, like, oh, like, I'm just gonna push them down it. Right, yeah. And so...
they expect the reader to be confused, so they also make their main character confused so that the plot can explain itself to the main character, but it's a much better strategy to show a character moving confidently through a world, because then we, the reader, feel more confident moving through the world with them, you know?
I think also, again, it's a question of who's driving the action, like the whole, like, passive versus active sentences. It's like, is the character verbing the world, or is the world verbing the character?
Exactly.
You know, really, but like, is the character driving forward the action? And the thing is, in general, you don't have to have an active protagonist, but it really helps if you do.
And they need to be likable in some other way if they aren't, you know?
Right. Here's the thing. It is a rule that the character should be active, and it will make them more likable. semicolon, you can break this rule, but you need to know what you're doing. That you need to know that you're breaking it and not that this is just a thing you did by accident. You also need to understand it's a more high skill option. Why did it start with her filling? Oops. Why did it start with her filling her water skin, for instance? Yeah. Why? But what was that?
We did not need to. Yeah. Again, unfortunately,
Also-
like I think this is going to be useful for the writer regardless because we're calling out a lot of things, you know, that are patterns in the writing. But honestly, I think most of this should be cut from the story. I think we need to start after most of this.
I mean, the only reasonable thing we could be getting from this is the how the locals treat her. But we're not getting that because the innkeeper is actually being pretty chill.
Yeah.
The innkeeper is even like, oh, you're like a weird kind of other religion. It's like a small town lady. He's like, oh, you Muslim? Okay, that's cool. You can still stay in the room.
It feels
like that's the equivalent of what we're getting.
That's the vibe, yeah.
Yeah, and even that possible.
Honestly, this interaction could be interesting. We could start here potentially. That was my first thought when I was reading it.
Yeah, completely. Also, there's somebody lying in the chat. Oh, hey, new viewer here. That blonde lady is really hot and smart.
Wow, welcome to the channel, Lenny. Oh my god.
Andrew had a question. Are passive characters who are very observant and witty about their observations, even if they never tell anyone else good? I mean, I think that can help. I think that can help remedy the situation. But even so, it is difficult to make characters who are inactive. Again, being witty can help. But being genuinely witty, which a lot of writers have trouble with. Me and Katie at one point looked at the Scorpio races, which has a character who often just doesn't say things. And that's actually a very hard kind of character to write correctly. This is if you're part of the Critique or Book Club Remember stream. You have access to that. But basically, the way that Stefader is able to write that kind of character is very tricky to make him so that he still pops on screen a lot. And part of it is that he does think about things he could say that are very like snappy and then doesn't say them. Or he has reactions that are nonverbal but still kind of snappy. But like it is a more difficult path, and you really do kind of want, especially the big moments of the plot, to hinge on their actions. And even early on, maybe before you then go back to a more chilled out state.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so do you guys want to go to another, because we're not even close to being done with this. Do you guys want to keep going with this, or do you want to skip to somebody else's writing for a little bit? We're probably not going to get through the whole thing because, again, at a certain point, you're just like, well, these are the problems you're having.
Yeah.
I have now figured out what problems you're having. How do we let me tell you about them and fix it?
I will say, Will, this girl has some sort of like Fey disease where she is like a cat girl. So you have been thirsting after a
damn it. You motherfucker, why would you do this to me?
I didn't write this, and I'm very sorry that I characterized it that way. I'm sure it's far more complex to the writer. I'm very sorry. But
okay. Yeah, let's go ahead then and hold on. Not 10? What? Book 10 of the Iliad was like okay.
Will confirm furry? Yes.
No.
That's what this live stream is
hilariously, if you guys see the thumbnail for today, I thought that was so funny. I showed you that, right? The thumbnail for Bunny.
Oh, for Bunny? Yeah, that was funny.
All right, yeah, let's skip through to...
But to this writer, please read one of the Witcher short stories. You don't have to like The Witcher, but if you just see sort of the way it starts close to the action and shows how competent
the economy
he is,
of plot
as a character, because it seems like that's what you're trying to do here. You're trying to sort of have this character come in and do like contract work, essentially, which is and
read one of his read one of his not in the first 5 because first 3 because his first 3 are kind of rough, but after that, I think he especially cat girls are not furry. Fight me. I'm not getting into the taxonomy of the
taxonomy of cat girls.
All right, let's go to the next one because I want I think I kind of want to give people, first of all, pay for our services and we'll look over the entire thing on stream, me and Val, or you can hire me.
I need to pay rent. Please hire me. I need
money.
If you like my critiques, I love reading people's stuff, and more than happy to, give feedback.
I mean, honestly, I was thinking one
Any
of the
class.
products we might offer is like you and me just literally do this and we film it and send it to the person because
Mhm.
we're both ADHD bitches and this is the only way we'll get the work done on a reasonable time frame.
We hold each other accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, in person. Just submitted my piece. I mean, we probably won't be able to because again, we're definitely not going to get through this much, and I don't think me and Katie are going to get through more. But yeah, again, we are probably going to be opening a service for that.
I would like to at least get through like most of 3 of them today, if possible. Like half of 3 of them.
Okay, yeah, the ones you did notes for, you mean?
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, just exactly 3. I don't know why that number. No. Here we go. Share. Add to stage. Okay. Okay, so this is what they sent me, some notes they sent. This is a first in what I imagine will be a series of short stories with reoccurring characters in different situations that I call Slice of Ice, as it's based in a northern region known for community and chilly weather. This is my draft as I posted on your writing feedback section, but not the ones I am currently reworking and comparing to each other. The dialogue is weak, but written to be placeholder and to remind me of the point of the interaction. And I am terrible with naming things, so Delilah and Death is a play on life and death with Delilah playing a duality with. Okay, I'm not sure you have a lot to read, so I'm done with my preamble work. Okay, honestly, so in this case,
Delilah and Death as a title, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's cute. Okay, so we're not going to be going into the. There also is no dialogue, though.
There's not a ton of dialogue, so.
Okay, but we're not going to talk about the dialogue even if we get there because that's just not what they're focusing on. Bland, cold, affordable. Those had become the defining descriptors of everything surrounding her in life. Malaise would be a welcome spice in comparison to the constrained reality of repetition that was her existence. She didn't crave excitement. She didn't have the energy for it. She didn't desire change. Life had beaten that roaring fire to dead ash long ago. She simply was and did and continued. Okay. Life had beaten that roaring fire to dead ash long ago. Good, not visualization. What is the imagery? This part, malaise would be a welcome spice in comparison. That still doesn't really make a lot of sense. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. That's like boredom would be a welcome spice, but like we were describing boredom. Like I see what you're trying to do there, but I don't think it quite works. I'm
afraid to open it because I don't want to dox myself for the 15th time. Let me see. My name.
Here, you know what? If you want, I can go. Go
to the other one and let me open mine.
Yeah, I will go to Sub-02.
Twilight Guardian, is this one yours? Are you in the chat? Hey.
Who is it?
I don't know.
Twilight Guardian?
I did not know how to do context. I was assuming that was that, but
Oh yeah. I mean, again, I don't I don't remember who any of these people are. I'm sorry, guys. I immediately forgot as soon as I copy and pasted them over. I just wanted to.
We appreciate you all for sharing, though. It's wonderful.
Yes, no, and I know it's hard. And hopefully, we're still rough, but we're being kind about it. I tend to only get very performative when it's something I have to read 10,000 pages of.
This is probably this is a silly phrasing, but of the malaise would be a welcome spice in comparison to the constrained reality of repetition that was her existence. I said it was wordy, and I think I wrote this. Malaise would be a welcome spice in the nothing soup of her constrained reality, which isn't like nothing soup is maybe a little silly, but like you can cut it down and get the same meaning is the point of that.
So I think there's right off the bat also Twilight Guardian. I'm sorry, I'm going to talk like you don't exist here. I just find it like I'm going to talk like you're not in the chat right now. I'm going to talk about the writer, and you know what I mean? Like that's just how I do criticism. I think the writer is going for a very specific kind of tone that's kind of wordy. This is not necessarily a style that I vibe with a ton. So like defining descriptors of everything. And then especially over here, constrained reality of repetition that was her existence. I've done something similar in stories before, and I've seen other writers do this as well, where they're kind of trying to describe something abstract with a lot of wordy words. And I think here it's not terrible. I think this doesn't really make a this feels too like this doesn't to me zing. Those have become the defining descriptors of everything surrounding her in life. That to me is hard to picture. Whereas would be well in comparison to the constrained reality of repetition that was her in existence. That to me is easier to digest as a bite. That may be. I'm gonna have to keep reading to see if this is a consistent thing with their style, or if this is just something that is like a weird thing right at the beginning. Will isn't a lit fic chick. How dare you? Also,
It's
lit
true,
fic
he
chick.
isn't.
Lit fic chick coming soon to fight KFC. That, however, was to change. Like a gentle wind blowing of a verdant field, the calm grass blades of her stilled passions would ruffle one by one until all danced in chaotic beauty. The sun would shine off the waxy green waves in ways that dazzle the eyes and memorize the mind, but that is not now. Now the wind never blows, the ground is cold and barren, and the sun refuses to grace the valley with its bright countenance. Gloomy, frozen, and stilled is the landscape which she gazes upon. Okay, this is mixed.
This is a
However,
really extended
just-
metaphor, and I feel like almost similar to our comments on the last one. It kind of feels like you're talking your way through the metaphor a little
Mhm.
bit, and you're trying to find that thread. Which is I do this too in my writing. I will write like I'm like, oh god, this metaphor is too long. I explained it to myself as I was writing it, but that's what this feels like a little bit. And some of it is just not specific enough to mean anything, especially like danced in chaotic beauty. That doesn't really mean anything. I see like the grassy field and the thread that you're following here, but danced in chaotic beauty, mesmerize the mind, dazzle the eyes. Like a lot of this is too abstract to mean anything.
Yeah. So the other problem I think is that there's a problem right at the outset where that, however, was to change. That implies to me that we are going to be getting some kind of like. So that's not necessarily how the time passes in stories usually in terms of the linear sequence. So to begin with, this is a little destabilizing. So I'm not sure if she's talking about something that's going to. My assumption is that she's talking about something that was going to happen. But then we have to wait this many words before we get the next marker, the tense marker. So this is going to happen, but this is like a lot to keep in your mind before you would ruffle one by one into all dance and chaotic beauty. The other thing about it is like, this is just really hard to pick. Okay, so like a gentle wind blowing over a verdant field. The calm grass blades of her stilled passions would ruffle one by one into all dance and chaotic beauty. This doesn't mean anything. I'm sorry. I don't even think this is the worst sentence, but this doesn't mean anything. Let's try to follow the logic.
If you look at it without like your logic glasses on, it kind of sounds pretty, but it doesn't actually mean anything.
Like a gentle wind blowing over a verdant field. So the calm grass blades are like a gentle wind, is what we're being told
it's like
here.
Sort of like the wind is slowly rustling through the blades of grass, and then they're all sort of swaying and something like beautiful all together.
Yes.
So like all the little pieces of her life are dancing as one, kind of.
This is the problem.
Get that, but it's not quite specific enough.
Here's the problem with it is that it kind of works because this is very clear. This is clear imagery, but the problem is that it logically doesn't really make sense, and therefore it becomes fuzzy. So you get the sense of this kind of this is pretty, but I don't actually know what I'm looking at. So again, like a gentle wind blowing over a verdant field. What's the subject here? Calm grass blades of her stilled passions. Okay, they're gonna ruffle one by one, but again, they're doing this like a gentle wind blowing over a verdant field, but they are the verdant field.
I think there's a really interesting metaphor here is the thing. And that's why like I'm just like it's almost like because it seems like this woman that she's going to meet is going to bring meaning into her life, right? And like the fresh grass, like a breeze through it, like there's something there. I feel it. I could tug on the thread of it. It's not quite.
I don't think it's quite right. And also until all danced in chaotic beauty. The chaotic beauty
beauty doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and also you had a bunch of like specific imagery, and then you ended with something abstract in a way that I don't think works.
And then you go back to the specific in the next sentence. Yeah.
I do want to be clear. This is not. I've read a lot of purpley prose. This is not the worst thing. I think it's just a little overly. I think it needs to be retooled, but it's not fundamentally broken. I also, in terms of pacing or whatever, I think it's fine to do it this way. Like, we were kind of intrigued by what she's going on here and that her being bored, and then we're kind of intrigued because, oh, something big is going to change.
Also, it seems like we might have a tense issue at the end of this paragraph too, because suddenly we're in present tense. But that is not now. The wind never blows. Because we start in sort of like a, or are we writing in present tense? There's some confusion here for me, at least. Maybe I'm.
Yeah, I think the verb changes. Really quickly, this one random, weirdly hot commenter said, that paragraph is a little abstract, but you're not using the landscape to describe a very clear emotion or to tie anything that has happened yet, so it feels distant.
Yeah, because we don't.
If you're writing about something,
know what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you're writing about something that is going to happen, I think the rule is that it needs to be stark, striking, or the reader's attention won't catch it. Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's just hard. It's just hard to follow, for those reasons. The sun would shine off the waxy green waves in ways that, and also again, you need to get the tense marker much earlier because you're going, oh, we're changing tenses, but then it's this many. How many words is this? This is 17 words before we get to this tense marker. Bear in mind, people can keep about 7 things in their head at one time, and the average American reader can keep about 2. So something to bear in mind. The sun would shine off the waxy green waves in ways that dazzle the eyes and memorize the mind. This doesn't quite connect. Are we talking now about the dancing and chaotic beauty? But that is not now. That's good. Now the wind never blows, the ground is cold and barren, and the sun refuses to grace the valley with its bright countenance. Gloomy, frozen, and stilled is the land which she gazes upon. I think that's pretty good. I think that's it has a little bit of a punch at the end to kind of bring you back to where she is. Though I question. Okay, so some think fondly on past times of excitement, engagement, and romance. She could only now think fondly of the times when she would think fondly of those times. There are no shades of gray, there's only gray. Was this depression, despondence, boredom? Not entirely no, but definitely not yes. This was something more brutally soul-crushing, absolute resignation.
I know that the repetition is on purpose, but you can't use fondly 3 times in this many words. Like the fondly in like on the first 2 lines is a bit much. I know this in the second one, it's on purpose. Now she can only think fondly of the times when she could think fondly of the times. That is,
I think maybe the first one, if you some think, but also, who's the sum here? There's a thing going on where we're starting to need, now that we're in our 3rd paragraph, we need to kind of know more of what's going on.
I think that you take a little. The author takes a little too long to get to the point, sort of focusing on the metaphor of what will be instead of focusing on where we are right now. And what will be, the reader doesn't know that yet. Like, we're still in the dark. So we're like, okay, I know something good is happening, but this doesn't mean anything to me yet. So I'm not paying attention. The reader is only going to pay attention to when it matters. Like,
right, exactly. Right now, to something they can tie it down to. And the other, it's like a snowflake, like it builds out. The other thing is we were just in we're to things to come, and now we're at things past. I would honestly put something like but you need to give like a thesis of like what's she going to be thinking about. She's going to be thinking about these 2 contrasting things, so when there is a change, it's not like, wait, while we were just in the future and now we're in the past. I think it's and it's also just hard. We're not tying this down to anything just yet. I'm gonna turn something on. You guys let me know if the sound is too bad, because it is boiling in this room. So I'm turning on my AC unit. Has my audio quality suddenly gotten much worse? What do we think, people? This was a triumph.
I can hear it a little bit, but I don't think it's that bad.
Okay, it's boiling in here. So if it gets too annoying, let me know in the comments, guys. But it's fucking boiling in here. It's Florida. I went from Sweden a week ago to this.
It would be much better if you just barely hinted at this light at the end of the tunnel for this character, and we stay, because we're about to be kind of stuck in her like past like depressive state for a while now, and I think it would be better if we stay there in the beginning without all the metaphors of hope in the future, just so we can feel it while we're reading it and have that sort of like, oh, breath of fresh air, like with the character.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and also this is I understand this is the style, but I think this is the point where I start being like, okay, can we hurry it up and get to an actual story? Some 30 years ago, she was a child of movement, almost unstoppable. She was always moving forward with indefatigable vigor. She experienced every emotion, drank of every fountain that offered knowledge, and sought adventure and excitement wherever it may lie. A true wild child from youth to adulthood, she never turned down any challenge and remarkably rarely failed even the most difficult of gauntlets. This was her shining success. This is what would fail her. Okay, now we're getting very abstract, both in terms of the language.
The interesting thing is that it reads a little bit like a diary entry, but because it's in third person, it's a little bit strange. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, and also
you can do this. Like, this could work. It's just, I think with all of the metaphors that we've had so far, with no actual movement of plot, I think we can condense
or physicality
and learn more about the character through like
this feels like a paragraph you would read in like Teddy Roosevelt's biography or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, but at this point, we need to kind of get to a place and a time. It's difficult to write kind of people out of time in this way, unless you're like Gabriel Garcia Marquez or something like that. Like, there are certain writers who can do it, but in this case, I think this is a little. You don't have such a great grasp of imagery and getting the reader's attention that you're able to pull it off. Because what those writers do, well, I mean, okay, some of them are just very talented, but also not caring about the reader. But really what they tend to do is they tend to be able to kind of know where your attention is and tug it in very specific ways through these very expansive imageries. And in this case, it's just like, okay, cool. But also, this is not, we don't need to know this. This actually doesn't help us.
Yeah,
like we kind of figured out.
That doesn't really tell us. I think that we can intuit that this person used to be full of life and is, struggling through what we're about to learn and what we've learned so far a little bit.
As with all life, time moved her from there to here to what will be. Her young adult fancies led to her placated acceptance of maturity, which led to a long-lasting love that dwindled to a routine and ultimately suffered for its distance. After the roaring fire of desire died and the remaining smoldering pit smoke caused them to flee the scene, she realized she could no longer be the woman alone that she was when they were together. This led her to smolder until she petered out, accepting that, like the cold coals on an unattended furnace, she could not again become the woman she was before. Her later years came upon her and brought health conditions that stole the last of her drive, placing her into a shock that left her suspended in a perpetual state of stasis, uncaring, unmoving, uninspired. Okay, I hate this. Sorry. Okay, you still have some good imagery. Roaring fire, desire, smoldering pit smoke. Fine. But like the vividness of the imagery is not going to counteract the effect that you're very abstractly telling a woman's entire life, and we have no idea who the fuck she is.
Yeah.
Like, are there cars in this universe? Is this a medieval universe? Like, is this the far future? I have no idea. I have no grounding for what's going on here. So you're kind of launching into the meat of this character without giving us. Like, it was okay to have like a little bit at the beginning where it's like, nom, nom, nom. Okay, I'm interested in this character's state, but now you're trying to explain to us the meat and we have no specifics.
I don't hate this, but what I wrote in my notes about this paragraph specifically is there's some good metaphorical language here, but I think it's unnecessarily convoluting the narrative. And about the end of it, like, sometimes exposition can be just exposition and it doesn't need to be put through like the lens of like an extended metaphor. And I think in this case, a little brevity would help move the plot forward so that you can use this kind of language afterwards in a way that is more meaningful and hits the reader in a place where they're like, oh, that makes sense. Because right now we don't know the character enough for this kind of metaphorical language about their experiences to hit hard at all. Like, it's just sort of like, I understand the metaphor, but I don't know this person. So what does it mean to me? So my eyes kind of glaze over while I'm reading it for that reason.
Oh yeah, completely.
But like, it's not poorly written. It's a matter of like, when you're
pairing it. Katie would make some kind of a food metaphor. I wouldn't obviously have like, oh, it's all salt, but you need some beefsteak underneath or to bind it together. But it's like you have half of it, but the half on its own is not doing the work. Ellen actually says, I think it would help if we nailed down specifics and pinpoint in on one or two selective metaphors. The starting point is something that will only sing if you know the character already. We know nothing of the character, so we must be led to them first. And then she says, okay, so there's a thesis. She could not become the woman she was before. I'd lead with this and then quickly get to the point of her present circumstances. I actually think that's a good point. You need a thesis, especially when things are going to get this airy, to tell the reader, this is how you should ingest this information.
These
or
next
the
couple
context.
paragraphs I really like. I think the next couple paragraphs are pretty good. Like, because this is what I wanted earlier before all the metaphor, like the one after this.
Will hates this, writing on a sticky note and putting on my walls. Look, I with peace and love,
and
with peace and love, I hated that, but again, it's not terrible. What is this? The grumpier and hotter Will gets, the more he looks like Jon Snow. How dare you? How dare you?
As with all your girlfriend in chat.
Shut up! Shut up, Mom. All right.
Sorry.
As with all lifetime move from there, did we already do this? Do you want to read this part? Because I'm bored. Sorry.
Will,
we already read. Okay, no, we did already do this. She did not seek death, but also did not participate in life. She went to work to pay her bills, went home to stare blankly at screens, and drank heavily of cheap alcohol to help her sleep. Then she woke up, practiced her hygiene routine, and smoked a cigarette while staring ahead blankly and waiting for the bus to go to the place that pays the bills, so that she can go home again to stare blankly at screens, and so and on and so forth. The weekend was a shallow refuge. She'd spend one day to sleep in an extra hour or two and then go grocery shopping because it seemed the normal thing to do. This social norm gave her the feeling of participating in what she thought she ought to do while telling herself lies that she is still a social creature, even though the night was filled with only more cheap alcohol and cheaper entertainment to make her feel as whole as she could feel. The next day, she would do her laundry, clean her apartment, and sleep some more. Then she would do the same the next week, and again, and then the next, and the next. This was not habit, it was not routine, and it was not grinding it out. It was simply the totality of her. That's actually quite nice. That's quite nice.
I actually, the last sentence, I kind of think it is a habit and a routine, and she is grinding it out. Like it's very clearly a habit and a routine.
But to her, it feels like, no, this is my life.
This is just, you know what, that's fair.
I think so here's the thing. You are doing certain things and that you're tying into more specifics of her life and world, and that's good. I think this would just be way more powerful if we had already met her on screen at some point. Like, this is it's a little bit straightforward.
That's a good point. I like how straightforward it is, honestly. I think that's
I think it could if it was made she doesn't think, but also did not participate in life. That feels a little bit... So, like, parts of this work well. So, like, this is very clear. This is very clear, and I think so. This is good. The weekend was a shallow refuge, I think, is good. I think I just don't like...
I think that's a good sentence.
The work was a shallow refuge. Yeah, no, I think it's excellent. I think there is... she would spend one day to sleep in an extra hour or two and then go grocery shopping because it seemed the normal thing to do. There's a couple of these, I think. I think it would be better and then go grocery shopping because it was the social norm.
I almost kind of wanted like one or two specific details. Like, she went to the grocery store, bought a few frozen things to put in her fridge. You know, like just a couple specific things. Like, she's like, I went there because it, you know, it made me feel alive. This is what people do. I got this and what, you know, people buy. I don't know. I feel like one or two details there could be interesting.
So here we have 3 descriptions of like why she's doing it, right? In terms of like, I'm depressed and I have to do this thing. And I think 2 of these are really strong, and I think this one like almost is, but I also almost think it's overstating it. I would move this maybe somewhere else. Like, I don't think it's a bad sentence, but here, like, we get it. You know, she's just going through the motions of it. Yeah, and again, though, I just feel like a lot of this will be much stronger if I feel like, honestly, almost all of this could just be cut here.
I would try cutting it out, put it in your like I have a document that I keep that is like the graveyard. I label
Boneyard is what Maria calls hers.
Yeah, and I'm just like label them. I'm like, okay, this is the part about the grass metaphor. This is the part about this, and I'm like, I wrote this. But
this is how hot Lucanus is. Here's what I think about.
But yeah, cut it out, see how it works, and like, because I think you have an interesting character introduction here. I want a scene grounding us before we get into all of this sort of backstory, though. Like, even just one
Yeah.
paragraph of where she is now. We know she's, I believe, in the hospital right now. If we have
Well-
one grounding paragraph with that first.
We also just don't quite have anything to. There is a lot of humanity here, but it is second order humanity. We don't yet have that core seed of like, of humanity to bind us to her. Usually people would talk about like empathy and identifying and stuff like that. Like, I've noticed often I only really connect with my characters once I have them think about their childhood, even for a paragraph or two. That's the part where I connect with my characters, because it's like, oh, this is, I feel a little bit of the seed with them, and then from there we can build it. And you don't have to do it that way. That's just one of the ways that I do it. And I notice I identify with other characters when they do that. There needs to be something a little bit on screen that gives us like, like maybe she's sitting on I have no idea what goes on in the rest of the story, but like she's sitting on her porch smoking a cigarette with her mom, talking shit for a second. You know what I mean? Like that, and then this would really like help this tie you in more. I don't think these are bad elements. I think you're missing elements of the puzzle that would complete it.
Yeah, I as someone who's read the whole snippet that was sent, I think like starting maybe with like a very brief interaction with Neve or Nev, which is your character's name, interacting with maybe a nurse or something, because I think she is in a hospital. Like maybe like a very, very brief interaction. And like just sort of like explaining her state of mind in the hospital, where she's at. Maybe she had just met Delilah, who we're going to meet down the line, and maybe she thinks about Delilah for a second as like a seed of something to bring back the metaphor of all of the grass stuff. But we don't go into all of the metaphor. We just bring up like it felt like a seed of hope, and then we get a little bit of her backstory, and then we pull us back into what happened, and we continue.
Yeah, you could even have it be a little bit clinical and distant, or look at something like Stephen King often does little human interactions quite well in a way that just kind of grounds you, but also tells you a little bit about the character. Ellen says, at this point, the tone is beginning to feel aligned to the character, which helps it feel alive. I'd work on the specifics a little more. I get that monotony is partly the point. You're trying to align the interior, the perceived exterior of her life. Yeah, I think exactly what Val was saying is that you just need a little bit. You just need something to ground it before we can get into this.
Like there's like something to hook onto, so that all of the rest of this doesn't feel like we're free falling through like someone's diary entries. We just need like one grounding thing.
Yeah, no, really, it's really true. I think it would really help a lot, and to kind of syncopate those two things. The cycle continued unbroken to her health issues caught up at her at work, causing need for ambulance to be called, which rushed to the nearest hospital. The blaring sirens, frenetic energy, flashing lights, and moving bodies were a sight that she could not get to see, but others would explain in detail as it was something that happened to them and not around them. What? Oh, she wasn't surprised as she never saw herself as more than a prop in anyone else's stage play. Anyway. Do we have an emo font?
I don't hate it. Because
here. You know what this needs? This needs to be fully black.
Listen, as someone who has like been depressed before and gone through it, I get it. I understand. That way.
Yes,
but because it's in like, and I don't know if I
it's
rarely
just a
would say
little
it's better in first person, but just like it kind of feels like. It's weird in third person because
because it kind of feels almost
kind of it feels like correct.
It's less
like a little bit.
Yeah, and I think also this isn't quite earned yet, and also it's just a little bit straightforward. If you could like make it a little bit less, I mean, we can't see now because it's all red.
You bring it back, Will. Come on. It's not that bad.
As a prop and everyone else's. I don't know how else to mark that it's emo.
I don't hate it. I honestly don't hate it. I think it's like it's a bit much because we don't know the character yet. It does feel a little unearned. I think
also though
true.
You could also make it something as she wasn't surprised. She had always been a prop in someone else's play. I think like that's a little bit more of a straightforward way of putting it, where it's like a little bit less like woe is onto me, and more like, that's how my life goes. You know, she wasn't
Yeah,
surprised. She'd always been more a
that's
prop than
better.
a character.
A less woe is me and more like succinct and to the point. Like,
Or even
I
something
think
like
would.
it reminded her oddly of the childhood play where she'd played the Rock when she wanted to play, I don't know, whoever the name of the main character was. Something like that might also be a way to do it, in that it kind of is telling you the same thing but giving you an image, like she's tying it to her memory versus just like a kind of an abstract
And like what Elf Boy,
description.
sorry, just to bring it back to what we were talking about
Yeah.
previously, what Elf Boy just said, the fastest way to ground a character is through their senses other than sight, the taste of a cigarette, spark, blah blah blah. But I agree, and I think like what again, like since we're starting in a hospital, I think maybe eating like applesauce and being like, I wouldn't like just thinking about the blandness of it, like a taste or the smell of a hospital, like anything to ground you in this hospital scene. Like hospitals have such specific, like sad
even their air
vibes.
conditioning
Like,
tastes a certain depressing way.
yeah. Or like the person next to her maybe is hacking up along, and they're like, God, I hope I don't get what this guy has. Like, you know, like.
Also, a note about critique PR. What you're doing here is fine, but honestly, what I find usually, especially when I'm taking critiques, is I don't even like to respond to anything they're saying, because the critique person, like when we were in college and, you know, everybody would talk about your thing or whatever, I think it's, you know, the work stands for itself, and what you're doing, if you kind of try to meet everybody's to kind of explain why you made every decision, it's like, that's not really helpful. You're not going to be able to do that. No, it's fine that you're doing it here. I'm just saying, like, when you're looking at criticism in the future, this is something to think about, is just like, okay, I'm just accepting what's coming in. I'll write down the notes. I'll encourage them to keep talking, but I'm not playing defense. And it's not actually really helpful for me outside of I tried to do this, did this not work or not work kind of a thing. You kind of have to really just take your ego out of it when you're listening to critique.
One of my favorite moments in art school was in my my first figure drawing class that I took, and I turned in a self-portrait. Everyone had to turn in a self-portrait for this one, and I was, you know, just, you know, it's always awkward critiquing other people's self-portraits. So I was just sitting there, and someone was like, I think your boobs might be a little low, like holding up their pencil measuring it. I was like, shit, my boobs are a little low.
And then you realize they weren't pointing at the painting, but at you. I'm just kidding.
God damn it. Critique is always fun.
Okay, all right. When do we actually get to like a real? Oh my god.
Well, calm down. Don't be so dramatic.
Oh my god. Part of it is, I think also this is something where I am not necessarily the intended reader for this kind of. I'm not actually sure though. I'm not sure how much of this is an intentional kind of a genre that I'm unfamiliar.
Have to go through a ton more, because I feel like you're mostly going to say the same things. A couple of things that I will say, just because I did read, you know, the rest of it is, and like maybe this is a me issue, but I thought that this person was hospitalized. Like I thought it was like a 5150 situation, like a mental health crisis, just because of what was told. Like I know she drinks a lot, but like the reveal that it was a heart attack that happened like to her later on was a little surprising to me, because it seemed like she was being held kind of against her will, and she was moving around and walking and like interacting with other patients in the hospital in a way that wouldn't happen if she had recovered from a heart attack, you know? And it's fine if like maybe like she's an unreliable narrator or something, and maybe she is being held for mental health issues beyond this, but like, and maybe I don't really understand what happens after you have a heart attack. That's entirely possible. But like, I've known people who have, you know, like had these happen, and they don't stay extended periods of time in the hospital afterwards, just a little bit. And it seems like this person has been here for like a hot second. That's just like my I was confused reading it, so that's just one viewer's opinion on it.
I think often you have to have the courage to be confused when you're critiquing someone, because I think there's an immediate, and I know I've done this, an immediate sense of like, oh, I don't want to seem stupid, so I'm not going to say that I was confused by what you wrote. But actually, just be confident in being like, I don't know what the fuck was going on, man. I once my sisters at one point read some of my writing, and it was awful because they kept being mean to each other when one of them would be like, I don't think I understood, and the other would be like, you didn't get that. And I'm like, this is so counterproductive, guys. I need to know if you're confused. Just be honest about it. So in terms of what you're saying, like, yeah, you don't know, and that's good information to know that most people may not really know this about hospitals.
And just before we move on, if there's anything specific you want us to look at or mention before we move on, just since you're here, I feel like that's fine.
Yeah. If we can look at it real quick.
Mhm.
While we do that, Ellen says Brett Easton Ellis works partly because his obsessive characters hone in on specifics and grievances in their lives, and through these grievances, we get to know the characters. For example, I know that writer, and that's also what that I also agree with that. But yeah, there are certain, actually in the chat, can you guys suggest any writers that you think are similar in tone but do this well? I feel like Katie might know some, but I don't, because I don't really read lit fic.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not like a huge lit fic reader in general either, so I wouldn't. But like a lot of this tonally does work for me. I think you've got some good bones, even though it's kind of out of order and not quite like layered in a way that is, most conducive to making the reader care. I think you have a lot of good things, and if you rearranged them and just sort of focused slightly differently on different things, I think it could be a really, really strong piece.
I gotta be honest, reading some of this dialogue, the parts in between the dialogue, this is good. This is we're not gonna go through it, but like you definitely have skill in the actual in the moment scenes. So I would just move a lot of that first and then kind of go into more of the abstract. Because it really does, like, the midpoint of this story is her meeting Delilah. And so, as we talked about, you want to try to start the story as close to the middle as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Give time someone, thank you so much. Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, that I think that's good. But yeah, I mix, but I think you definitely have a lot of strengths. It's just often, it's hard to see. It was so funny. I was saying to Ellen that, like, I really wish I could critique my writing as much as with the kind of eye that I'm able to with other people, but I can't really. And then in my head, and then I was like, but actually what would happen is if there was another me to critique my writing, is he would put it off to the last minute and then not do it.
We could both critique each other's writing in one of these, Will, and just be like, let's embarrass ourselves.
No, I wouldn't do it to the last minute. Just all right. Let's go over then submission 3. Again, we got, I think, like 13 at the 14, maybe 14. I only uploaded 12, so we're just gonna go through these. I think for tomorrow during the stream, me and Katie will just pick one random ones to do. But in this case, we're doing the first 3 because those are the ones that
Valerie.
Yeah, that happens way more than you guys would think, and it's a problem.
They're both blonde. We can't tell the difference. Or I guess, no, Linny has red hair now. There's no excuse. There's no.
That's true. Yes. No. Good point. Good point. All right.
Yeah, and if you guys, I really do enjoy reading people's writing. If you guys enjoyed this, I'm happy to read more. For money.
Yes.
I need to pay rent so bad.
Yeah, guys. Yeah. Well, I also would like money, but yeah, we're thinking about how to do that. So we might do another.
Give it my all. I honestly really do enjoy it.
I mean, what we might do is we might just do more of these on weekends or something like that, mm-hmm. and just, if somebody wants more in-depth work, they can either hire me as an editor to look over a large amount, or just hire me and Val to do a video like this and record it and send it to you. Because I think that's probably the best way for us to both get it done on time as ADHD bitches.
And also just join forces.
And we'll just yeah. Oh my God, learn your women's names. It's hard, okay? They just okay. Let's see. Add to stage. The following is part of an early chapter in which the protagonist, Logan, a bank robber, has one of his regular hostile but sexually charged check-ins with Lydia, the being of unknown origin who's given him a limited form of immortality. Hey, vampire time.
It's very dialogue heavy, as opposed to the other ones, I think.
What do you think? We were out. Let me see if there's a way really quick where I can just. I think there's that's not what I meant to do. There. Damn it. Hold on. I think there's a way very quickly for me to format this for aligning and indenting. No, that's not the right one. I should not be doing this live on stream. Indent options, special indent, first line, left 1. Okay, that did not do what I wanted. Anyway, we're going to forget that. What do you think? We were outside, my back to the brick wall as I fumbled for a cigarette. So weird, even years later, watching everything held in place around us while Lydia preened about, flexing her toes as she trapezed across the concrete without a care in the world. Okay, we were outside. Those don't feel like they go together, but all right. So weird, even years later, watching everything held in place around us. What does that mean?
Time is
It's
frozen.
like-
That's what it means.
Okay, you need to say that then, because that's not clear at all. This seems like it was something that was like,
This
you
one,
know,
as opposed to
time
the other
frozen.
ones, doesn't actually. This one needs more prose, like in general. Like it's mostly dialogue, and it suffers because of it because it's so abrupt from like dialogue to dialogue beat, and it doesn't. You can't tell when time passes between dialogue beats. We'll get into it later, but
Yeah, no, okay. This needs to be explicit then, because I don't even know what I had.
it took me a minute to figure that out too.
Flexing her toes as she trapezed. I don't love trapezed across the concrete without caring in the world. Trapezed is like,
I think
it's a
traipsed is
strong
what it says
verb.
traipsed.
Trapezed?
She
Let me look
traipsed.
that up real quick.
Trapezed is a
Walk,
service
wander,
word.
tramp from place to place. Yeah, I don't know. You're right. You're correct. It's traipsed. I still don't love it. It feels a little bit hard to picture, and
I'm
to
sort
be
of
honest, it feels a little.
imagining like a little fairy girl, like sort of tiptoe
Yeah.
dancing, like from like sidewalk panel to sidewalk.
It feels a
panel.
little quirky white girl.
And maybe that's very well might be what the vibe is. But
Well, but the thing is, it feels a little quirky white girl on the part of the writer.
yeah, and
You know
also
what I mean?
like,
Like-
why are we focusing on the flexing of her toes? I don't, maybe more power to you. Flex those toes, get it. But,
Toe power. Okay.
Just
Of what I asked her? This, our deal, your life, lives, your overdraft protection, the hand of God on the small of your back, or goddess, as the case may be. I blinked. Wait, so you are a goddess then? There she was in front of me again. I could smell the dangerously sweet scent of her breath on my face. Everything going about her was custom built to drag me down. Everything about her was custom. If I were going to tell you that, I would have years ago, don't you think? What's the big secret? It's fun to keep you guessing, she shrugged, but you can call me goddess if you really, really want to, Logan. I don't mind at all. She gave me a grin that felt like being eaten alive. Fuck off, I snapped. Okay. I kind of hate this. I kind of hate
once
this.
again,
I
kind of hates it.
ellipses kind of hate this. It needs to be on our merch. So he says, one of the commenters says, it sounds weird to say, but it feels like this is the descriptive dialogue around manga pages. It does.
That's funny. It does feel like that. This feels like someone writing a script. I majored in sequential art, so I know what it looks like to write a script for comics.
Yes.
And this reads like that. It reads like sort of beats of physical movement from panel to panel and not actual prose. You're absolutely correct. That's a great way of putting it.
And I think the thing here is that you need to I don't love how the dialogue feels kind of generic to me and a little, again, overly quirky white girl. But if you are going to go with this kind of a feeling of it, you need to add those panels in. So like I'm assuming as a sequential artist would be like already in your head kind of thinking about what the panels would look like. So
yes, so you need to show the beats of like when you move from panel to panel, because right now it just sort of reads like a chunk of nothing, like, and we don't really know what the characters are doing or how they're moving or their facial expressions. So this initial dialogue, the part that some of the dialogue in this I don't mind at all. I think it's really interesting, and like it does sort of show their different voices in a good way, but this beginning part confuses me because they've been together. These two have been like together for years. Like this is an arrangement they've had for years. It seems odd. Does she always ask him how he's feeling about their arrangement afterwards? Because that feels like it's just on behalf of the audience and the reader. Like
Oh,
for
the
her to
as you know,
explain it.
Bob.
Yeah. And it seems like maybe she has asked it before, or maybe she's checking in with him, but I think it could be phrased in a more natural sounding way. Like, are you still feeling good about this after all these years? Or like after that last one, that was rough. Like, what do you think? You still feeling good about us? And then like the whole goddess joke is kind of funny, but I feel like it could be funnier. Like I feel this Logan doesn't feel like the kind of guy who would be like, oh, so you're a goddess? I feel like he'd be like, you're not a goddess, you weird, like nympho demon, like something. Like he'd say something quirky like that instead, and she'd be like,
I think. I think one of the things, one of the references to look at here is me and Katie again did a breakdown of the banter in Gideon the Ninth, and that's you could just look at that video if you're part of our book club here, but which join the Patreon, support independent journalism and our rent. But Gideon the Ninth is, I think, a good example of it, and even some Diane Wynne Jones books in terms of what makes good banter work is the characters are really coming into it with a viewpoint. You're not just being like, haha, it'd be funny. You said, I don't remember where you said this once, you said it to me, I think, but it's like a lot of times bad banter feels like two sock puppets of the author talking to each other, and they're basically just talking like the author.
Saying the next line of the joke, and it's the author talking to herself, telling the joke to herself, being like, oh boy, this is funny.
Yeah, exactly. And like each character kind of needs to come on with a slightly funny way of experiencing or viewing the world to make the banter really work.
Banter is when we the reader know the characters, and the thing that they say is funny because it comes from their mouth specifically. Like this person said something and reacted to the situation in a way that makes sense to them, and like it can be funny or not funny, but like it's so much more impactful when the characters stay in character and don't just say the next line of the joke. Like,
yeah, people have a couple of funny suggestions here. So like maybe answering with what a sad looking pantheon, that must be if you're a representative of it.
Yes, yeah, exactly. See, I wrote
something a little bit,
because I think there's a lot of potential here in this whole dialogue that's between them, because most of this is dialogue, and like it made me like be like, oh, there's so much here, but it's not quite hitting in a lot of ways. Like they almost have good banter, but I didn't come away with it with a good sense of what their actual relationship is like, because
so like, okay,
it feels a little scripted. Go ahead.
So if we go instead, you're a goddess. I flicked the end of my guys. Pretend that I can spell correctly. Let's see if you're right. Never. Shitty fucking pantheon. So like that's kind of funny. Right. Okay, and so what we're doing here, but I had put these before, but basically these are like, if this was a panel comic, these would be things you could describe, and like you could add these certain dialogue pieces together. Like, so the flicking of the cigarette, that's a visual that gives you a sense of like who this character is. And You're a Goddess, Shitty Fucking Pantheon has kind of a syncopated feel to it, A, in terms of how it flows, but B, this is a thing he says, not a thing she says. She would not say Shitty Fucking Pantheon, because that's clearly not how she talks from this. And so that kind of goes back to what we were talking about in terms of dialogue or banter being like very specific to a person. And so that's
she's
kind of what you need
on the sidewalk. He could like flick it onto the sidewalk, and she could pretend to stub her, like touch her little toe on the ember and be like, "Ow, ow!" And he's like, "Fuck off! I know you can't feel it." Like, you know, like there's room for physical comedy here that like makes sense within the characters.
Yeah, well, and that's actually a really good point. Is the physicality here is not. Again, it's like this was a manga. Think about it like, what is the visual story you're telling with like she teetered on the edge of the building. The city towered above her. Like, what does that say about
body language? Is so important, and like because this reads like a manga a little bit already. We're only like a couple lines in, but it already feels like that. Like physical, like reactions and like body language is so important when you're relying on stuff like this, because it tells you so much. And I think, you know, I do have an image of her like traipsing around like a stupid little fairy on the sidewalk. Like that's cool, and that could work, but like. We just need a little more.
There's also something about when you underwrite that way, often feels amateurish. It's one of these things where like
Mhm.
if you're an artist, some really good artists, unfortunately AI looks a lot like their work, and so people now are kind of trying to draw in a way that it doesn't look like AI, even though the kind of drawing that they used to do is perfectly valid. And so underfilling in this way feels kind of amateurish if it isn't hitting exactly right. So that's just something you kind of want to bear in mind. Also, Ellen says, if you're a hot, busty woman, the cigarette might be a cigarello. I would
You
always like
know,
to.
what this kinda gives me the mind of is, it calls to mind Chainsaw Man, which is a manga and an anime. Like, just the interactions between this guy who's very clearly in an arrangement that is bad for him, and this woman who's clearly taking, like, some kind of advantage of him, we don't know how. It reminds me of Denji and Makima, and it's such a masterclass in, like, character reactions and the subtlety where in a manga you don't get like all the prose explaining people's feelings, but you still get it in the visuals and the dialogue, and you can uh I would recommend that for this person who has written this if they're not familiar. It feels like that to me.
Yeah, and again, mangas where the people think to themselves about their thoughts are not what you want to go with. Like we're not doing Naruto here. Like, but there are visual novels. Me and Katie, again, I'm going to just keep going back to these. This is why I actually do the critique streams because they teach me a lot. But the specifics, there was a visual novel we looked at that kind of through the pains themselves. It wasn't just like dialogue with some visuals. It was like the visuals telling a story. Very quickly, Roshank says, sorry to cut your explanation. How about you guys for editing services?
Hey!
Those $5 will go directly to paying Val's rent.
Thank you.
I'm open for this month. I finished up my last one a couple days ago, which is one of the reasons we're doing this. So
I'll
yeah,
make
I'm
time
open
because
to.
I need money real bad, and I promise.
I was thinking maybe you and I just we do it together style. We do it
I love
dynamic
it. I
duo
love it.
style.
I would
We
love
just
that
split
for
we
us.
split the money.
Because then we
Uh,
sorry, there's a fly. I'm not just swatting at air. But yeah. I promise I'll do my best. I love this shit. I love this shit so much. I'm having a blast.
it is a lot of fun. Okay, so for example, if we were to go back to the manga panel idea, by the way, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna preen a little bit. Shitty fucking Pantheon, I think, is a really funny line here. Um, I'm gonna
You
just
wrote that,
preen
Will.
it. I know that's
Or
what I'm saying.
no, someone else in the comments wrote that. I'm so
No,
sorry.
they said it a little differently. I added in the syncopated beat of it, but yes, it was a team effort. It was Andrew Chigo. Sorry. Okay, so this is fine, right? I mean, I think this isn't super well written, but that's fine. This. You need something here, visual image here of like
We already read this part, Will.
No, what I'm saying is
Oh yeah, you're just
okay,
you're editing. Okay.
I'm aware, thank you.
Sorry.
She swept her arm in a pirouette. Again, these aren't good. If this is just to show, it's like temp dialogue, as they say. Our deal, your life, crafts, you may address these. She smiled. Goddess, as the case may be. So that will add just a little bit of life, and you don't have to do a ton of these, but it's good to add them here and there to emphasize how people talk. Because when people talk, I've talked about this before, if you look at dialogue in a film, a human face is an incredibly powerful emotive tool that has hundreds of thousands of microcommunications, and it is a scalpel, and a dialogue is a hammer. Like it's just words. So you can get some of that back though through actions. And then what are you describing? If you're describing, the yawning city beneath them, that might be something that's like a little forlorn. They feel disconnected from it. Or if you stormy rain clouds, things are dark. Obviously, that's an obvious one you wouldn't use, but that's just kind of the thing.
And like,
So yeah,
for me, I think I often like overuse sort of like a dialogue action tags in that way, but this person needs more of them. Like not the basics, like she shrugged, he winked, he smirked. Like those are the basic ones that you want to avoid. But like something that actually sort of grounds you in the scene and shows you the emotionality of the dialogue that's happening. Like little grounding things like that could really like add to the scene.
Yeah, like this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Aeroshank says more money for rent. Go ahead and email me again. Again, you can use this email, and I will make sure to check my junk folder. I think you just emailed us, didn't you? Anyway, just do it to mine, and it'll be fine. Okay. Okay. Fuck off. I snapped. Hey, she laughed, holding up her hands. Now backing. Now back to dancing up and down the sidewalk. You asked, baby doll, just being cordial. Are you going to answer my question? Dancing back up and down the sidewalk. I would say something about like, you know how like kids do that thing where they try to walk on the concrete thing like this, like the concrete edge before the grass. There's
The
like
curb?
a thin line.
The
Yes,
curve?
that is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Yeah, they do that. That's maybe like a good example of something to specify that she's doing versus just
Or
dance,
maybe like
which is
skipping
kind of
backwards on the
abstract.
curb, kind of like
Yeah.
tauntingly. Like there's
Or moonwalking. That could also be a little funny. You know, like, but that's really, but like, that could be something. And then he was like, "You're not Michael Jackson, bitch." And she's like, "Yes, I am." And he's like, "You have not molested enough children." Or, I don't know.
Oh my god.
Again, dialogue is not necessarily my strength. I think she would smile with a hint of teeth, a flash of canines, and the hungry way of purpose-starved deities. I like that. I think that's really good. I think that's something that, like, again, this kind of goes to what tone do you want from this? There's a way to make this a little bit more sinister than it is, and I think that could definitely be a way to go.
And I will say very clearly, because we have so many suggestions, specific suggestions for dialogue changes, there's obviously a clear tone that we understand from these first few lines
Yes.
of dialogue with these two characters, which I think is, in the author's favor. Like, they're doing a good job kind of setting up who these characters are and their relationship to each other. That's why we have so many specific suggestions for how it could sort of work a little bit more smoothly.
And I will say, you also kind of will want to sneak in environmental details as you were doing, because the environment is often a good way of, it'll give the reader a sense of tactility and realness, but also it's a good way of like sneaking in people's emotional states without really saying it, like I was talking about before. Hey, she laughed, holding up her hands, now back up and down. Okay, you asked, baby doll, just being cordial. Are you going to answer my question? This would be better if it was, hey, she laughed.
Another thing I want to say is, I don't know if the formatting is weird because you copied and pasted. It will, but in general, like, keep the paragraphs to, even if someone is talking, you can keep their action and that line of dialogue on the same paragraph and just clump together paragraphs with the person who's talking, the action they take, the next paragraph, the person who's talking, the action they take, because the way it's broken up here is often a little bit confusing. Again, it might just be Will.
Yeah, I think mostly what it did is it just got rid of the indents. I don't think it actually messed up the actual. But so like, hey, you asked, baby doll, just being cordial. She held up her hands. Now back to dancing up and down the sidewalk. Are you going to answer my question? So here what I did here is I moved these actions from the beginning to the middle, and that creates a different sense of weight to the words, and a kind of like, people, I don't know why, but it feels snappy when somebody does an action in the middle of talking and then they say something. It adds like a little bit of emphasis or oomph to it.
Yeah, it helps with the rhythm of what's happening. So like, one part of the thing, pause for, drama, another part of the thing. Like it works really well most of the time. But his reaction here doesn't make a ton of sense. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. It's fine if you can't. Don't worry about it. It's we appreciate it, but don't worry about it too much.
But his reaction being, I shook my head, I don't know. Like, does he not know if he's going to answer her question, or does he not? I don't know the answer to her question.
You're right. That should be one line.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, notice how when we moved this part here to the middle, it creates a sense of like she responded, but she still wants to know the answer. She's not going to let it just sit, which kind of tells you something a little bit about her, and that she does want an answer, instead of it just being like one thing after another. Don't know. She seemed genuinely shocked. I don't know why this isn't capitalized. She seemed genuinely shocked this time. Usually when I come to check on you. So she seemed genuinely shocked this time. This is abstract, but in this type of writing, that is sometimes okay. Because this type of writing depends a lot on its witticism, more so than the kind of conventional style. I've seen you write in this style before, where you're really funny, and sometimes you'll put something that's maybe like a little bit abstract or just fast because you want to get back to the dialogue part of it.
Mhm.
So that is something you can kind of work sometimes.
I think what I am curious about is what being genuinely shocked looks like to her, because he clearly knows her well enough to to notice that in her. Like, does she sort of like put her hands behind her head, like, and raise her eyebrows? Like, what does genuinely shocked look like to this creature? And that's more interesting to me. Like, just because I can't really picture, because she still seems a little bit catty about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's clearly not a human genuinely shocked reaction. I just want like a little bit of specific reaction before we get to the next part.
I think also I shook my head. I don't know. Feels very generic. Um,
I don't think he should say I don't know. I think he should just shake his head and look uncertain. Like he should,
or even just like I shook my head. Uh,
or like I open and close my mouth, unsure of whether I like owed her something. I don't know. Like,
I took a drag of the cigarette. Don't know. She seemed genuinely shocked this time. That actually works better then. Yeah, you're right. That's much snappier if it's like her characterizing him and also knowing him well enough that that's what his silence means.
Yes, his silence.
Yeah. You're right.
You're like, or it could be like, you're uncertain. You're always certain. Like, blah, blah, and then go on with this.
So there has been some discussion about with Ellen and a few of the others of whether it should have been Baby Doll or Stud when she called him that over.
She has one. I feel like she could have two nicknames for him. I feel like
she
has a little bit too many.
I think this is an intentionality thing. This is where you look and you go, what do I want? Do I want the character to be subtly mocking him this way or subtly mocking him that way? And like what this is a thing that like you both can work. I think as an author though, you need to know why you're picking one over the other. But yes, no, no. I think this works much better if she's just like, I don't know. He just shakes his head and she's like, oh wow, that's weird.
You always have something to say, like something like that. Also, welcome to the party, Snaptooth.
If this has already happened, if I'm remembering correctly, they set up here that this is an early chapter, but I'm assuming that we've already seen this on screen, so we don't need it here. And if we haven't seen it on screen, it feels telly, so I just don't think you need it either way.
Mm-hmm.
Something to say. I know.
It's fine. I think like if this is a first chapter, it's fine. But if we already know this, then yeah, you can cut it.
Yeah, I think you can just cut this to matter of fact, dearest. Last time I saw you, don't. I tried to cut in. I believe you told me something kind of sort of something like. I think this is fine. This is a minor stylistic thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would cut it. I would cut it.
Yeah, I think it makes it a little snappier. And the thing is, you do want this to be snappy.
Yeah, that's the thing about writing like dialogue is you need to know when to add tags and when not to. And when people are cutting each other off, don't add dialogue tags for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just let them cut each other off. We'll follow, especially with just two people.
Honestly, the dialogue isn't bad, but it really needs those additional bits that give context feels much more complete. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, a little staging can go a really long way. And just trying to capitalize on why something like this is funny. Val is actually, she doesn't like to admit it, but very good at this kind of thing. I've read her comedy dialogue, and it is actually genuinely funny in a way that usually those aren't. There was a discussion about horses at one point that you sent me between characters that was just like the funniest thing. It's like, this is so dumb and funny. You always, matter of fact, last time I saw you, don't. I believe you told me something kind of sort of something like, and as she spoke, her voice was my voice. Okay, her voice was my voice. This is a moment when you want to punch in that she is an immortal. I'm assuming that you want to punch in that she is an immortal character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because just her voice was my voice is very flippant, and I understand that this character, it's probably flippant to him because he's clearly dealt with this woman for this creature for a long time. But like maybe like mention like it never gets like less unsettling, or it never fails to catch me off guard. The growl of my own voice through her, I don't know, describe her face a little bit, you know.
So I'm writing again, temp dialogue that's not good. Her voice was my voice. The growl of a larynx that didn't belong in such a small body as hers. So something like that, for example, that kind of emphasizes like, oh, this is the point where it's like, okay, this was funny, this was funny, this is funny. No, this is serious for a second. And it gives a lot of kind of textual variation and a vertical variation to the work tonally. And I'm assuming this is something you're going to want to play on later.
Also, no, Lenny, it wasn't horny about horses. It also,
yeah,
I was writing a Western AU with a bunch of my friends.
What's it called again?
No, and
it's a great pun. That's all I'm gonna say. The name is such a great pun.
About you know, like don't look a gift horse in the mouth, but these two girls, neither of the two girls understood what looking a gift horse in the mouth meant. So they were standing there arguing about the nature of the.
But one of them was very certain about it, which is like one of the things I find really funny.
Anyway.
Okay. I rolled my eyes. This at this point feels a little bit like. Aren't you the one always telling your boys to be better? You're no lady. I snapped. I'm as far as I know. Would you like to check? Ew. Okay, so I think then as we come in here, because she took 2 fingers, slipped the strap of her dress off her right shoulder. The fabric shifted. I don't mind at all. Stop. I don't. Please. Not today. Please, Lydia. I'm not in the fucking mood. I pulled on a cigarette for dear life. What about lung cancer? I asked her. She frowned. What about it? I held up the coffin nail, witching the wisp of smokes. I die of lung cancer. You know I'm here with my lungs. Okay. So, and then here, this seems to be a more emotional beat, but we really don't get a sense for it. So this is, I think, where you want to switch to a different mode. Rolling my eyes, because he's going to get serious here. Rolling your eyes here doesn't really work. It feels like this is probably a better moment to switch the tone. I would have some like genuine anger here for a second or something like that.
Yeah, rolling his eyes seems out of not quite the right reaction for this scene because he seems genuinely fed up in this moment. Maybe he's just trying to be flippant, but if he is, he should be like, I rolled my eyes to hide my blah, blah, you know, you should get a little sense.
I rolled my eyes to hide the grinding of my jaw, something like that. You're no lady. I snapped. I'm sorry. Would you like to check? She took the other thing is this feels like kind of like she should have a moment. She should be reacting at some point here, and she isn't really she reacts here, right? But like after he says stop, this is like kind of a big moment.
And also, again, so this huge from I rolled my eyes to what about lung cancer? I have a huge issue with this because his emotionality in his comments changes like rapidly, like from dialogue to dialogue, and we don't get the time shift that I think is necessary for him to change his tone because rolling your eyes is like, oh my god, I rolled my eyes, and then you're no lady, I snapped. Snapping after rolling your eyes is kind of like a jarring shift, like
why? Yeah. Also, why did this get to him that much that we shifted that fast? That doesn't really make sense.
It should be like you're no lady, like on like you're no lady, like and then this one is
you know what? It should be you crazy manipulative lunatic bitch lady. Yeah, like I rolled my eyes. You're no lady. Her.
And he should say it sarcastically. And but then also like begging her, stop, please, not today. I'm not in the mood. Like when she starts like, you know, threatening to take her clothes off. It feels almost like kind of pathetic, like begging, like, I don't feel like it right now.
Yeah.
And then he pulls on a cigarette for dear life, which feels like he's horny and desperate to not pay attention to her. And then what about lung cancer feels like a real sincere question that he's asked. Like the whiplash that I'm feeling from this dialogue is nuts. Like
yeah, no, this needs a clear emotional through line. You need a reaction from her after this. What does she think about him begging her essentially in this moment to stop with this charade? You know, does she feel like triumphant, like, oh, I got you. I got the high ground. I always was going to get the high ground in this interaction. Does she feel like a moment of like, oh, I don't know, another reaction? But like that tells you something very much about it before he just starts talking about something else.
Yeah, what about
And
lung
then she
cancer
just
as a topic
explains what's
changer
going
is
on.
crazy. Like, that's just like at least like what you can do to show the passage of time if maybe they're both standing there and he's just thinking like is just describe the background a little bit like what's going on. I
Yep.
know everything's frozen, but like what do you see in this frozen space? Like what is frozen on the walls? Is there a bug
Yep.
frozen on the wall? Is there like is the water not flowing into the drain? Is it frozen like half like
Is there a fly
throbbing?
halfway up somebody's nose? Like
You can just notice things about and that will show
the way to
that
make
time has passed.
yeah, one of the ways to make a reader feels like time has passed is for actual time to have passed while they're reading it. That's Dazzler, guys.
Everyone say hi, Dazzler.
She's the cutest.
There she is. Sorry to derail this, but Dazzler.
Whoever says, I think this is working off the Eastern writing tropes, which allows for quick escalation. I think two things. I think if this is an intended reader problem, so this may be working off Eastern tropes, but not everybody's going to understand Eastern tropes, and I think this works much better in a visual format. Again, this very much feels like a comic, and in a comic, you could kind of make that work if the art was right, but I just don't.
So you wouldn't want to have these panels with these different mood shifts, especially from stop, I pulled a cigarette, to what about lung cancer? You would want little quiet moments in between these, like even I mean, I don't know a ton about like Eastern literature, but like you need to show like a through line, like in like manga, like you'll have like a panel of like a fly buzzing by or something like to show that time has passed between.
The camera goes,
it pulls
here's
back.
wide shot, or even like he paid a lot of really close attention to like the rolling the cigarette and the paper texture in his hand, and that tells you something about how he's hyper focusing in that moment. So I think that's probably going to be it for today because we're at 2 hours and I'm hungry and there's dinner. We got through about 3, which is, to be honest, kind of how many I thought we were going to get through.
And I think we touched on the important parts of each of them and like the issues.
And actually, funnily enough, a good spectrum of different issues: dialogue, abstraction.
I'm especially glad we had that last one because like the dialogue heavy ones versus we had a really good spread today. I thought that was good. I thought it was really good.
So if you guys would like us to do this more regularly on the main channel, let us know. Again, if you would like to get in contact for either me and Val or just me, editing services, there you are. Me and Katie are going to be reading some more of these tomorrow morning. So if you're in the book club tier, you should be able to have access to that live stream. And then, we were thinking, again, some kind of way to monetize this. So just email me and we'll figure something out.
Yeah, it was really fun, guys. Bye.